We all want our classrooms to be these amazing, vibrant places for learning. But what if I told you one of the biggest keys to unlocking that potential isn't some fancy new curriculum, it's actually something way more fundamental? Today, we are diving into the incredible and maybe even surprising power of simple, consistent classroom routines. So let's just jump right in with a big question, one that gets to the heart of so many classroom challenges. When you see your students' engagement start to dip, or maybe some behaviors start to bubble up, what do you think is really going on? What's the real culprit? I bet it's not what you think.
Because, more often than not, it isn't about a student's lack of effort. It's ambiguity. It's the cost of uncertainty. Think about it. There's this hidden tax on their mental energy every single time they have to stop and wonder, wait, what are we doing now? Or what am I supposed to do with this paper?
And that brings us to this huge idea, the classroom's hidden drain. Just picture it. A classroom that isn't predictable creates this constant, low-level cognitive drain that can seriously sabotage learning before it even gets a chance to take off. This comparison right here, this says it all. In an unpredictable room, a student's brain is working overtime just reading the room, right? They're constantly scanning for clues on what to do. But in a predictable classroom, all of that precious energy is freed up for reading to learn. And that's the whole game. We want to shift their focus from navigating chaos to actually digging into the content. So how do we fight back against this hidden drain? Well, it's not about being stricter or adding more rules. It's actually about working with how the brain is naturally wired. Let's talk about how we can automate the brain for learning. Okay, so your brain is basically an automation machine. It is designed to take tasks you do over and over and lock them into what's called procedural memory, so you can do them on autopilot. It's the same reason you can drive a route you know well and not even remember making every single turn. Well, classroom routines do the exact same thing. They automate the mundane stuff so students can free up that critical thinking space for the good stuff, the actual learning. And this is precisely what Rawlings Lister and their team were getting at. Routines aren't just about classroom management. They tap into the brain's natural automation system to build the stable environment that learning absolutely needs to even get started. And look, the research on this is crystal clear. Predictability isn't about making things boring, it's about creating psychological safety. When students feel secure and they know what's coming next, you see a direct drop in behavior problems and, you guessed it, a huge jump in engagement. It's a foundational piece of their social and emotional growth. Okay, so let's get super practical. We're going to focus on what can be one of the biggest sources of classroom chaos: transitions. I mean, this is where a predictable routine really shows its power. Come on, we've all been there, right? That little moment between activities can be a total hotspot for off-task behavior. As the research shows, this is when students might suddenly refuse to switch tasks or start bothering their friends. And why does this happen? Because it's a moment of peak uncertainty. And that is exactly why routines are so vital for transitions. A clear, well-practiced procedure attacks the problem head-on. It shrinks that uncertain gray area, and that means fewer chances to get off task and way more working memory focused on what you're actually teaching. So, how do we actually build these powerful routines? Well, here is a practical 3-step blueprint you can use. And I want you to think of this as a tool for self-reflection, not just a to-do list. Now, the absolute key here is to see this as a continuous cycle, not a one-and-done checklist. It's this ongoing process of evaluating what's needed, creating a clear visual for it, and then practicing it. This is how you constantly refine and improve your classroom environment. So, step 1 is all about evaluation. Where's the friction in your classroom? Which transitions always seem to cause a little bit of chaos? And here's a pro tip from the research: ask your students. They are on the front lines, and they often have the clearest insights into what isn't working smoothly. All right, step 2, make the implicit explicit. Don't just assume your students know what to do. Show them. Use written steps or, even better, visual instructions. We know from research that things like pictorial schedules can dramatically boost how well students complete tasks independently. Why? Because it just totally removes all the guesswork. And finally, step 3 is all about reinforcement. A routine isn't some poster you hang on the wall and just hope for the best. No way. It's a skill. And just like any skill, it has to be explicitly taught, practiced until it becomes second nature, and then consistently reinforced. It is an active, living process in your classroom. And that brings us to the final and honestly, the most important piece of this whole puzzle. We have to talk about the real key to mastery. Because making this all work isn't just about the steps themselves, it's about your mindset. You know, it's so easy to fall into this trap of thinking the goal is a perfectly silent robotic classroom where routines never, ever fail. But that's not only rigid and unrealistic, it kind of misses the whole point. See, the real goal isn't perfection, it's reflection. The true power here comes from using this framework to constantly observe your classroom, to see what's actually working, and to adapt your routines to meet the real, evolving needs of your specific students. It's not a finish line. It's a dynamic, continuous process of improvement.
So here's the big takeaway. You don't have to go in tomorrow and totally overhaul your entire classroom. Just start small. Be intentional. Ask yourself this one question. What is the one routine, just one, that you can refine this week to free up just a little more mental energy for learning?